You are about to experience Snyder Presents. We will examine the life of our Master Yeshua by discovering his ancestors, family, and friends, by reviewing rare ancient manuscripts, and speaking to those who know him best from the Vero Yahad at yahad.us. Now experience Snyder Presents.
The Book of Jubilees, Sefer HaYobelim. This is the history of the division of the days of the law and of the covenant, of the events of the years, of their year weeks, of their jubilees throughout all the years of the world, as Yahweh spoke to Moshe on Mount Sinai when he was up to receive the tablets of the law and the commandment, according to the voice of Elohim, as he said to him, "Go up to the top of the mount." Jubilees 1. And it came to pass in the first year of the exodus of the children of Israel out of Mitzrayim, in the 3rd month, on the 16th day of the month, that Elohim spoke to Moshe, saying, "Come up to me on the mount, and I will give you 2 tablets of stone of the law and of the commandment, which I have written, and you may teach them." And Moshe went up into the mount of Elohim, and the brilliance of Yahweh abode on Mount Sinai, and a cloud overshadowed it 6 days. And he called to Moshe on the 7th day out of the midst of the cloud, and the appearance of the brilliance of Yahweh was like a flaming fire on the top of the mount. And Moshe was on the mount 40 days and 40 nights. And Elohim taught him the earlier and the later history of the division of all the days of the law and of the covenant. And he said, "Incline your heart to every word that I will speak to you on this mount, and write them in a book, in order that their generations may see how I have not forsaken them for all the evil that they have wrought in transgressing the covenant that I established between me and you for their generations this day on Mount Sinai. And thus it will come to pass, when all these things come upon them, that they will recognize that I am more righteous than they in all their judgments and in all their actions, and they will recognize that I have been truly with them. And write for yourself all these words that I declare to you this day, for I know their rebellion and their stiff neck, before I bring them into the land of which I swore to their fathers, to Abraham and to Yitzchak and to Yaakov, saying, To your seed will I give a land flowing with milk and honey. And they will eat and be satisfied, and they will turn to strange gods, to gods that cannot deliver them from any of their tribulation, and this witness will be heard for a witness against them. For they will forget all my commandments, even all that I command them, and they will walk after the alien tribes, and after their uncleanness, and after their shame, and will serve their gods, and these will prove to them an offense, and a tribulation, and an affliction, and a snare. And many will perish, and they will be taken captive, and will fall into the hands of the enemy, because they have forsaken my ordinances and my commands, and the festivals of my covenant, and my Sabbaths, and my set-apart place that I have set apart for myself in their midst, and my tabernacle, and my sanctuary, which I set apart for myself in the midst of the land, that I should set my name upon it, and that it should dwell there. And they will make to themselves high places, and groves, and graven images, and they will worship, each his own graven image, so as to go astray. And they will sacrifice their children to demons, and to all the works of the error of their hearts. And I will send witnesses to them, that I may witness against them, but they will not hear. And they will slay the witnesses also, and they will persecute those who seek the law, and they will abrogate and change everything so as to work evil before my eyes. And I will hide my face from them, and I will deliver them into the land of the alien tribes for captivity, and for a prey, and for devouring. And I will remove them from the midst of the land, and I will scatter them among the alien tribes. And they will forget all my law and my commandments and all my judgments, and will go astray as to new moons and Sabbaths and festivals and jubilees and ordinances. And after this they will turn to me from among the alien tribes with all their heart, and with all their soul, and with all their strength, and I will gather them from among the alien tribes, and they will seek me, so that I will be found among them when they seek me with all their heart and with all their soul. And I will disclose to them abounding peace with righteousness, and I will plant them the plant of uprightness in the land, with all my heart and with all my soul, and they will be for a blessing and not for a curse, and they will be the head and not the tail. And I will build my sanctuary in their midst, and I will dwell there with them, and I will be their Elohim, and they will be my people in truth and righteousness. And I will not forsake them nor fail them, for I am Yahweh, their Elohim. And Moshe fell on his face and prayed and said, O Yahweh, my Elohim, do not forsake your people in your inheritance, so that they should wander into the error of their hearts. And do not deliver them into the hands of their enemies, the alien tribes, in case they should rule over them and cause them to sin against you. Let your mercy, O Yahweh, be lifted up upon your people, and create in them an upright ruach, and let not the ruach of Beliar rule over them to accuse them before you, and to ensnare them from all the paths of righteousness, so that they may perish from before your face. But they are your people and your inheritance, which you have delivered with your great power from the hands of the Mitzrayim. Create in them a clean heart and a set-apart ruach, and let them not be ensnared in their sins from now and for a very long time. And Yahweh said to Moshe, I know their contrariness and their thoughts and their stubbornness, and they will not be obedient till they confess their own sin and the sin of their fathers. And after this they will turn to me in all uprightness, and with all their heart, and with all their soul, and I will circumcise the foreskin of their heart, and the foreskin of the heart of their seed, and I will create in them a set-apart ruach. I will cleanse them so that they will not turn away from me from that day and for a very long time. And their souls will cleave to me, and to all my commandments, and they will fulfill my commandments, and I will be their father, and they will be my children, and they all will be called children of the living Elohim. And every Malach and every Ruach will know, yea, they will know that these are my children, and that I am their father in uprightness and righteousness, and that I love them. Write down for yourself all these words that I declared to you on this mountain, the first and the last, which will come to pass in all the divisions of the days, in the law and in the covenant, and in the weeks and the Jubilees for a very long time, until I descend and dwell with them throughout the land for a very long time. And he said to the Malach of the presence, Write for Moshe from the beginning of creation till my sanctuary has been built among them for a very long time. And Yahweh will appear to the eyes of all, and all will know that I am the Elohim of Israel, and the father of all the children of Yaakov, the king on Mount Zion, for a very long time. And Zion and Yerushalayim will be set apart. And the Malach of the presence who went before the camp of Israel took the tables of the divisions of the years, from the time of the creation, of the law and of the covenant, of the weeks, of the Jubilees, according to the individual years, according to all the number of the Jubilees, according to the individual years, from the day of the new creation, when the skies and the earth will be renewed, and all their creation, according to the powers of the sky, and according to all the creation of the earth, until the sanctuary of Yahweh will be made in Yerushalayim on Mount Zion, and all the luminaries be renewed for healing, and for peace, and for blessing for all the Bakarim of Israel, and that it may be from that day to all the days of the earth. Jubilees, chapter 2. And the Malach of the presence spoke to Moshe according to the word of Yahweh, saying, Write the complete history of the creation, how in 6 days Yahweh Elohim finished all his works, and all that he created, and kept Sabbath on the 7th day, and set it apart for all ages, and appointed it as a sign for all his works. For on the first day he created the skies that are above, and the earth, and the waters, and all the Ruachim that served before him, the Malachim of the presence, and the Malachim of setting apart, and the Malachim of the Ruach of fire, and the Malachim of the Ruach of the winds, and the Malachim of the Ruach of the clouds, and of darkness, and of snow, and of hail, and of hoarfrost, and the Malachim of the voices, and of the thunder, and of the lightning, and the Malachim of the Ruachim of cold, and of heat, and of winter, and of spring, and of autumn, and of summer, and of all the Ruachim of his creatures that are in the skies and on the land. He created the abysses and the darkness, eventide and night, and the light, dawn and day. which he has prepared in the knowledge of his heart. And then we saw his works, and praised him, and lauded before him on account of all his works. For 7 great works did he create on the first day. And on the second day he created the sky vault in the midst of the waters. And the waters were divided on that day. Half of them went up above, and half of them went down below the sky vault that was in the midst over the face of the whole land. And this was the only work Elohim created on the second day. And on the third day he commanded the waters to pass from off the face of the whole land into one place, and the dry ground to appear. And the waters did so as he commanded them, and they retired from off the face of the land into one place outside of the sky vault, and the dry land appeared. And on that day he created for them all the seas according to their separate gathering places, and all the rivers, and the gatherings of the waters in the mountains, and on all the lands, and all the lakes, and all the dew of the earth, and the seed that is sown, and all sprouting things, and fruit-bearing trees, and trees of the wood, and the garden of Eden, and all. These 4 great works Elohim created on the third day. And on the fourth day he created the sun and the moon and the stars, and set them in the vault of the sky, to give light upon all the earth, and to rule over the day and night, and divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, and for Sabbaths, and for months, and for feasts, and for years, and for Sabbaths of years, and for Jubilees, and for all seasons of the years. And it divides the light from the darkness, and for prosperity, that all things may prosper that shoot and grow on the earth. These 3 kinds he made on the fourth day. And on the fifth day he created great sea monsters in the depths of the waters. For these were the first things of flesh that were created by his hands, the fish, and everything that moves in the waters, and everything that flies, and birds, and all their kind. And the sun rose above them to prosper them, and above everything that was on the land, everything that shoots out of the ground, and all fruit-bearing trees, and all flesh. These 3 kinds he created on the fifth day. And on the sixth day he created all the animals of the land, and all cattle, and everything that moves on the ground. And after all this he created man. A man and a woman created he them, and gave him dominion over all that is upon the ground, and in the seas, and over everything that flies, and over beasts, and over cattle, and over everything that moves on the ground, and over the whole earth. And over all this he gave him dominion. And these 4 kinds he created on the sixth day. And there were altogether 22 kinds, and he finished all his work on the sixth day, all that is in the skies and on the earth, and in the seas and in the abysses, and in the light and in the darkness, and in everything. And he gave us a great sign, the Sabbath day, that we should work 6 days, but keep Sabbath on the seventh day from all work. And all the Malachim of the presence, and all the Malachim of setting apart, these 2 great classes, he has bidden us to keep the Sabbath with him in the sky and on land. And he said to us, Look, I will separate to myself a people from among all the people, and these will keep my Sabbath day, and I will set them apart for myself as my people, and will bless them, as I have set apart the Sabbath day, and do devote it to myself. Even so will I bless them, and they will be my people, and I will be their Elohim. And I have chosen the seed of Yaakov from among all that I have seen, and have written him down as my firstborn son, and have set him apart for myself for a very long time and beyond. And I will teach them the Sabbath day, that they may keep Sabbath thereon from all work. And so he created therein a sign, in accordance with which they should keep Sabbath with us on the seventh day, to eat and to drink, and to bless him who has created all things, as he has blessed and set apart for himself a peculiar people above all people, and that they should keep Sabbath together with us. And he caused his commands to ascend as a sweet savor acceptable before him all the days. There were 22 heads of mankind from Adam to Yaakov, and 22 kinds of work were made until the seventh day. This is blessed and set apart, and the former also is blessed and set apart. And this one serves with that one, and this one serves with that one for setting apart and blessing. And to this, Yaakov and his seed, it was granted that they should always be the blessed and set-apart ones of the first covenant and law, even as he set apart and blessed the Sabbath day on the seventh day. He created sky and earth and everything that he created in 6 days, and Elohim made the seventh day set apart for all his works. Therefore he commanded on his behalf that whoever does any work thereon will die, and that he who defiles it will surely die. This is why you command the children of Israel to observe this day, that they may keep it set apart, and not do any work on it, and not defile it, as it is more greatly set apart than all other days. And whoever profanes it will surely die, and whoever does any work on it will surely die for all time, that the children of Israel may observe this day throughout their generations, and not be rooted out of the land. For it is a set-apart day and a blessed day, and everyone who observes it and keeps Sabbath from all his work will be set apart and blessed throughout all days like we are. Declare and say to the children of Israel the law of this day, both that they should keep Sabbath on the seventh day, and that they should not forsake it in the error of their hearts, and that it is not lawful to do any work on it that is improper, to do on it their own pleasure, and that they should not prepare on it anything to be eaten or drunk, and that it is not lawful to draw water, or bring in or take out on it through their gates any burden, which they had not prepared for themselves on the 6th day in their dwellings. And they will not bring in nor take out from house to house on that day, for that day is more set apart and blessed than any Jubilee day of the Jubilees. On this we kept Sabbath in the skies before it was made known to any flesh to keep Sabbath on the earth. And the Creator of all things blessed it, but he did not set apart all people and nations to keep Sabbath on that day, but Israel alone. Those alone he permitted to eat and drink and to keep Sabbath on the earth. And the Creator of all things blessed this day that he had created for blessing and devotion and brilliance above all days. This law and covenant was given to the children of Israel as a law for a very long time to their generations. Jubilees chapter 3. And on the 6 days of the second week we brought, according to the word of Elohim, to Adam all the beasts, and all the cattle, and all the birds, and everything that moves on the earth, and everything that moves in the water, according to their kinds, and according to their types, the beasts on the first day, the cattle on the second day, the birds on the third day, and all that moves on the earth on the fourth day, and all that moves in the water on the fifth day. And Adam named them all by their respective names, and as he called them, so was their name. And on these 5 days Adam saw all these, male and female, according to every kind that was on the earth, but he was alone and found no mate for him. And Yahweh said to us, "It is not good that the man should be alone. Let us make a mate for him." And Yahweh said to us, "It is not good that the man should be alone. Let us make a mate for him." And Yahweh our Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon him, and he slept. And he took for the woman 1 rib from among his ribs, and this rib was the origin of the woman from among his ribs. And he built up the flesh in its stead, and built the woman. And he awaked Adam out of his sleep, and on awaking he rose on the 6th day. And he brought her to him, and he knew her, and said to her, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She will be called wife, because she was taken from her husband." So will man and wife be one, for a man will leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife, and they will be one flesh. In the first week was Adam created, and the rib his wife. In the second week we showed her to him, and for this reason the commandment was given to keep in their defilement, for a male 7 days, and for a female twice 7 days. And after Adam had completed 40 days in the land where he had been created, he brought him into the Garden of Eden to till and keep it. But his wife they brought in on the 80th day, and after this she entered into the Garden of Eden. and for this reason the commandment is written on the sky tablets in regard to her that gives birth. If she bears a male, she will remain in her uncleanness 7 days according to the first week of days, and 33 days will she remain in the blood of her purifying, and she will not touch any set-apart thing, nor enter into the sanctuary, until she accomplishes these days that are required in the case of a male child. But in the case of a female child, she will remain in her uncleanness 2 weeks of days, according to the first 2 weeks, and 66 days in the blood of her purification, and they will in all be 80 days. And when she had completed these 80 days, we brought her into the Garden of Eden, for it is more set apart than all the earth besides, and every tree that is planted in it is set apart. So there was ordained regarding her who bears a male or female child the statute of those days, that she should touch no set-apart thing, nor enter into the sanctuary until these days for the male or female child are accomplished. And this is the law and covenant that was written down for Israel, in order that they should observe it all the days. And in the first week of the first Jubilee, Adam and his wife were in the Garden of Eden for 7 years, tilling and keeping it, and we gave him work, and we instructed him to do everything that is suitable for tillage. And he tilled the garden, and was naked, and knew it not, and was not ashamed. And he protected the garden from the birds and beasts and cattle, and gathered its fruit, and ate, and put aside the residue for himself and his wife, and put aside that which was being kept. And after the completion of the 7 years, which he had completed there, 7 years exactly, and in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, the serpent came and approached the woman. And the serpent said to the woman, Has Elohim commanded you, saying, You all will not eat of every tree of the garden? And she said to it, Of all the fruit of the trees of the garden Elohim has said to us, Eat. But of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said to us, You all will not eat it, neither will you touch it, in case you all die. And the serpent said to the woman, You all will not surely die, for Elohim know that on the day you will all eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you all will be as Elohim, and you all will know good and evil. And the woman saw the tree, that it was agreeable and pleasant to the eye, and that its fruit was good for food, and she took of it and ate. And when she had first covered her shame with fig leaves, she gave of it to Adam, and he ate. And his eyes were opened, and he saw that he was naked. And he took fig leaves and sewed them together, and made an apron for himself, and covered his shame. And Elohim cursed the serpent, and was angry with it for a very long time. And he was angry with the woman, because she heeded to the voice of the serpent, and did eat. And he said to her, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your pains. In sorrow you will bring forth children, and your return will be to your husband, and he will rule over you. And to Adam also he said, Because you have heeded the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat of, cursed be the ground for your sake. Thorns and thistles will it bring forth to you, and you will eat your bread in the sweat of your face, till you return to the earth from whence you were taken. For earth you are, and to earth will you return. And he made for them coats of skin, and clothed them, and sent them forth from the Garden of Eden. And on that day that Adam went forth from the garden, he offered as a sweet savor an offering, frankincense, galbanum, and stocte, and spices in the morning with the rising of the sun from the day when he covered his shame. And on that day was closed the mouth of all beasts, and of cattle, and of birds, and of whatever walks, and of whatever moves, so that they could no longer speak, for they had all spoken one with another, with one lip, and with one tongue. And he set out of the Garden of Eden all flesh that was in the Garden of Eden, and all flesh was scattered according to its kind, and according to its types, to the places that had been created for them. And to Adam alone did he give something to cover his shame, of all the beasts and cattle. On this account it is prescribed on the sky tablets as touching all those who know the judgment of the law, that they should cover their shame, and should not uncover themselves, as the alien tribes uncover themselves. And on the new moon of the 4th month, Adam and his wife went forth from the Garden of Eden, and they dwelt in the land of Elda, in the land of their creation. And Adam called the name of his wife Chava. And they had no son until the first Jubilee, and after this he knew her. From then on he tilled the land as he had been instructed in the Garden of Eden.
Hello, this is Jackson Snyder. We're going to take a little break now to present some very important messages. But we will be right back here on Hebrew Nation Radio. Wisdom. My friends, this is Jackson Snyder with an announcement. We're going to do an entire week of Dead Sea Scrolls. It seems that everybody's heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls, but they really have never heard what is in the Dead Sea Scrolls, nor have they heard readings of particular books that are important or appropriate for our understanding and faith today. Beginning February 2nd, you will learn all you need to know for the time being about the great discoveries in the desert of Judea of 1947 through 1956, including a personal testimony of the last Qumran as seen on earth. And in the third week of this Jubilee, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noach, and to make to err and destroy them. And the sons of Noach came to Noach their father, and they told him concerning the demons that were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons' sons. And he prayed before Yahweh, his Elohim, and said, Elohim of the spirits of all flesh, who have shown mercy unto me, and have saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and have not caused me to perish as you did the sons of perdition. For your grace has been great toward me, and great has been your mercy to my soul. Let your grace lift up upon my sons, and let not wicked spirits rule over them, lest they should destroy them from the earth. But do you bless me and my sons, that we may increase and multiply and replenish the earth? And you know how your watchers, the fathers of these spirits, acted in my day. And as for these spirits that are living, imprison them and hold them fast in the place of condemnation, and let them not bring destruction on the sons of your servant, O my Elohim, for these are malignant and created in order to destroy. And let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for you alone can exercise dominion over them. And let them not have power over the sons of the righteous, from henceforth and laulam vaed. And Yahweh our Elohim bade us to bind them all. Yet the chief of the spirits, Mastema, came and said,
Master and Creator, let some of them remain before me, and let them hearken to my voice, and do all that I will say unto them, for if some of them are not left to me, I will not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men. For these are for corruption and leading astray before my judgment, for great is the wickedness of the sons of men.
And he said, Let the 10th part of them remain before me, and let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation.
Stars, stars falling down to the ground. Stars are falling
And we did according to all his words. All the malignant evil ones we bound in the place of condemnation, and a tenth part of them we left that they might be subject before Shatan on the earth. And one of us he commanded that we should teach Noach all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness nor strive in righteousness. And we explained to Noach all the medicines of their diseases, together with their seductions, how he might heal them with herbs of the earth. And Noach wrote down all these things in a book, as we instructed him concerning every kind of medicine. Thus the evil spirits were precluded from hurting the sons of Noach, and he gave all that he had written to Shem, his eldest son, for he loved him exceedingly above all his sons. And Noach slept with his fathers, and was buried on Mount Lubar in the land of Ararat. 950 years he completed in his life, 19 Jubilees in 2 weeks and 5 years. And in his life on earth he excelled the children of men, save Enoch, because of the righteousness wherein he was perfect. For Enoch's office was ordained for a testimony to the generations of the world, in that he should recount all the deeds of the generation unto generation, till the day of judgment.
Stars, stars falling down to the ground. Stars are falling down. Stars, stars falling down. Don't turn around. Fall away and hide.
And in the 33rd Jubilee, in the first year in the second week, Peleg took to himself a wife whose name was Lumna, the daughter of Sinnar, and she bare him a son in the 4th year of this week, and he called his name Ru. And he said,
Look, that the children of men have become evil through the wicked purpose of building for themselves a city and a tower in the land of Shinar.
For they departed from the land of Ararat eastward to Shinar, for in his days they built the city and the tower, saying, Go, let us ascend thereby into the heaven. And they began to build, and in the 4th week they made brick with fire, and the brick served them for stone, and the clay with which they cemented them together was asphalt that comes out of the sea and out of the fountains of water in the land of Shinar. And they built it. 43 years were they building it. Its breadth was 203 bricks, and the height of a brick was the third of one. Its height amounted to 5,433 cubits and 2 palms, and the extent of one wall was 13 stadies, and of the other 30 stadies, as Yahweh our Elohim said unto us, Look, they are one people, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be withheld from them. Go to, let us go down and confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech, and they may be dispersed into cities and nations, and one purpose will no longer abide with them till the day of judgment. And Yahweh descended, and we descended with him to see the city and the tower that the children of men had built. And he confounded their language, and they no longer understood one another's speech, and they ceased then to build the city and the tower. For this reason the whole land of Shinar is called Babel, because Yahweh did there confound all the language of the children of men, and from thence they were dispersed into their cities, each according to his language and his nation. Yahweh sent a mighty wind against the tower, and overthrew it upon the earth. And look, it was between Asher and Babylon in the land of Shinar, and they called its name Overthrow. In the 4th week in the 1st year, in the beginning thereof, in the 34th Jubilee, were they dispersed from the land of Shinar. And Ham and his sons went into the land which he was to occupy, and he acquired his portion in the land of the south. And Canaan saw the land of Lebanon to the river of Egypt, that it was very good, and he went not into the land of his inheritance to the west, that is, to the sea, and he dwelt in the land of Lebanon, eastward and westward from the border of Jordan and from the border of the sea. And Ham, his father, and Cush and Mitzrayim, his brothers, said unto him, You have settled in a land that is not thine, and that did not fall to us by lot. Do not do so, for if you do so, you and your sons will fall in the land and be accursed through sedition. For by sedition you all have settled, and by sedition will your children fall, and you will be rooted out leolam. Dwell not in the dwelling of Shem, for to Shem and his sons did it come by their lot. Cursed are you, and cursed will you be beyond all the sons of Noach, by the curse by which we bound ourselves by an oath in the presence of the holy judge, and in the presence of Noach our father. He did not listen to them, and dwelt in the land of Lebanon from Hamath to the entering of Egypt, he and his sons until this day, and for this reason that land is named Canaan. And Japheth and his sons went toward the sea and dwelt in the land of their portion. And Madai saw the land of the sea, and it did not please him. And he begged a portion from Ham and Asher and Arpachshad, his wife's brother. And he dwelt in the land of Media, near to his wife's brother until this day. And he called his dwelling place, and the dwelling place of his sons, Media, after the name of their father Madai.
You have been listening to the Book of Jubilees, also called Leptogenesis. This is a very important book, as is Enoch in the corpus of the Dead Sea Scrolls. It was very well known to the early Christian fathers, including Epiphanius, Justin Martyr, Origen, etc. But by the 5th century, it was totally suppressed, totally gone, totally destroyed. Yet the Scrolls community held it in high esteem and understood it to be an inspired writing from the hand of Moses. And throughout the Jubilees, there's a claim that Moses wrote it. Jubilees presents the history of the division of the days of the Torah, of the events of the years, the year weeks, and the Jubilees of the world. Remember, a Jubilee is 4950 years in scriptural understanding. 49 years, that's 7 times 7 years, plus 1 year of Jubilee, when all slaves were to go free and all property was to go back to its ancestral owners. Like Enoch, in recent years, Jubilees has only been known in the Ethiopian language of Ge'ez, and a part of a translation in Greek that had come from a Latin work previously. One of the things that's very important about Jubilees is that it explains the calendar of the Zadokites, a calendar based on the observations of Enoch of the heavenly bodies. Now, this is not the Jewish calendar, which begins in the fall and goes by the moon. This is a solar calendar, a calendar of 364 days in the year. It is a liturgical calendar, that's why it's 364 and not 365. 364 is divisible by 12, and there was 12 shifts of priests, and each priestly shift or each priestly family took a certain time in ministering in the temple. So the calendar was based on the priestly cycle. We must understand that in the time of Yahshua, there was more than one calendar going in the Jewish world. In fact, I've been able to trace at least 4 calendars in Israel. A Sadducean calendar, which was the Greek secular calendar. So the temple was being run by a Greek secular calendar in that time. The Pharisees had a different calendar as well, based on the moon, which we understand is pretty much the same calendar as the Jews keep today. There was an Enochian calendar based on the astronomical observations that are written in the book of Enoch, 1st Enoch. And then there was the Zadokite calendar, which is the old priestly calendar of the Davidic kingdom,
and its priest Zadok, going back even perhaps to Melchizedek, of the 364 days beginning just after the vernal equinox. This calendar is gaining a lot of adherents these days among those of certain sects of Hebrew roots people, because it becomes obvious that this was the calendar that Yeshua and his brother Yaakov and his other brother Shimon, along with the people of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and probably those who are called Essenes, all kept. This is one of the reasons that we find in the New Testament a constant problem with the Pharisees and Sadducees with Yeshua's observation of the Sabbath. It's very possible that they were keeping different Sabbath days. I know today those on the Sadducean calendar, that is the lunisolar calendar, start a new 7-day period for a Shabbat every month, every new moon. But when the calendar, as in the Zadokite calendar, is not based on the moon, then you have an equal spread of 7-day Sabbaths that, insofar as I can determine through my own research, was on what we call today Saturday. Of course, that means the feasts of Yahweh were on different dates, since there are different calendars. And we learn from certain early historians that Yaakov HaZadik, that is James the Just, the brother of Yeshua, was appointed a high priest by the people, and that he actually, in the course of his priesthood, was able to go into the Kadosh Kadoshim, that is the Holy of Holies, on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and there atone on his knees for the sins of all of Israel. We find James as the opposition priest in a number of different early writings. One, a Nazarene writing that survived in fragments, that is, the writings of Hegesippus. We also read it in the church historian Eusebius, and the fullest description of James and his temple priesthood is in the writings of Epiphanius, who tells us that he not only put on the priestly linen and the priestly turban, but also that he was interceding within the Holy of Holies. Now, perhaps that's something that you didn't know, but something that I believe has been recorded by people we can trust. James, as I mentioned before, was genealogically of the right family, the family of Zadok the priest, and that the people would want a holier priest than what was appointed by the Herods. Various priests, sometimes every year a new priest, that was of the wrong house, was not exactly what you would call holy, but corrupt. In fact, the people of the scrolls considered the whole temple economy as being entirely corrupt because the priests that were serving on account of money, and they were not only of the wrong family, but they were enriching themselves on the backs of the people, appointed by a heathen king and supported by a heathen empire. James' advent into the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur, we read, caused a riot just afterwards, and James himself was executed by being cast off the parapet of the temple and then stoned. Josephus tells us, that is the historian, that James' death was the event that set all Israel off and was the catalyst for the Jewish rebellion of 66 to 73 A.D. that ended in the Roman conquest of all of Palestine and the destruction and burning of the temple. The temple didn't rise again after 70 A.D., and as we can see, there's no temple there today. We remember that Yeshua said to the woman at the well, "A day will come when you'll neither worship on this mountain," speaking of Mount Gerizim in Samaria, or in Jerusalem, but people will worship Elohim in spirit and in truth. And Yeshua promised the destruction of that temple, and sure enough, in the very time span that he predicted, and the Dead Sea Scrolls predicted, Jerusalem and its temple and its corrupt priesthood were destroyed. And now we attempt to worship in spirit and truth rather than with the blood of goats and bulls and all the wretched mess that comes along with that kind of economy. So once again, you've been listening to the book of Jubilees of the Leptogenesis, and now you know a little something about it too. In the readings from the Jubilees that we have just listened to, there is a trading off between good and evil, between Yahweh and Belial, between the Kadosh Malakim and the Ra Malakim, the good angels and the bad angels.
You can see in Jubilees how these various supernatural powers affect humanity. We call that dualism. There are several places in the scrolls where dualism, the fight between light and darkness, evil and good, is exemplified. By the way, we also find this concept used very often in the Gospel of John, and there might well be a connection between the Gospel of John and the Jubilees or the scrolls in general. The rule of the Yahad really spells it out when it comes to good versus evil, light versus dark. And let us end this section with the short reading from the Serek LaYahad, the community rule, that lets us know without metaphor the distinction between light and dark. This is a text belonging to the instructor, who is to enlighten and teach all the sons of light about the character and fate of humankind, all their spiritual varieties with accompanying signs, all their deeds, generation by generation, and their visitation for afflictions, together with eras of peace. All that is now and ever shall be originates with the Elohim of knowledge. Before things came to be, he has ordered all their designs, so that when they do come to exist, all their appointed times as ordained by his glorious plan, they fulfill their destiny, a destiny impossible to change. He controls the laws governing all things, and he provides for all their pursuits. He created humankind to rule over the world, appointing for them 2 spirits in which to walk until the time ordained for his visitation. These are the spirits of truth and falsehood. Upright character and fate originate with the habitation of light, perverse with the fountain of darkness. The authority of the Prince of Light extends to the governance of all righteous people. Therefore, they walk in the paths of life. Correspondingly, the authority of the Angel of Darkness embraces the governance of all wicked people, and they walk in the paths of darkness. The authority of the Angel of Darkness further extends to the corruption of all the righteous. All their sins, iniquities, shameful and rebellious deeds are at his prompting, a situation Elohim and his mysteries allows to continue until his era dawns. Moreover, all the afflictions of the righteous and every trial in its season occur because of this angel's diabolical role. All the spirits allied with him share but a single resolve, to cause the sons of light to stumble. And yet the Elohim of Israel and the angel of his truth assist all the sons of light. It is actually he who created the spirits of light and darkness, making them the cornerstone of every deed, their impulses the premise of every action. Elohim's love for one spirit lasts forever. He will be pleased with its action for always. The counsel of the other, however, he abhors, hating its every impulse for all time. Upon earth their operations are these. One enlightens a man's mind, making straight before him the paths of true righteousness and causing his heart to fear the laws of Elohim. This spirit engenders humility, patience, abundant compassion, perpetual goodness, insight, understanding, and powerful wisdom, resonating to each of Elohim's deeds, sustained by his constant faithfulness. It engenders a spirit knowledgeable in every plan of action, zealous for the laws of righteousness, holy in its thoughts, and steadfast in its purpose. This spirit encourages plenteous compassion upon all who hold fast to the truth, and glorious purity combined with visceral hatred of impurity in its very guise. It results in humble deportment allied with a general discernment, concealing the truth, that is, the mysteries of knowledge. To these ends is the earthly counsel of the Spirit to those whose nature yearns for truth. Through a gracious visitation, all who walk in this spirit will know healing, bountiful peace, long life, multiple progeny, followed by eternal blessings and perpetual joy through life everlasting. They will receive a crown of glory with a robe of honor, resplendent forever and ever. The operations of the spirit of falsehood result in greed, neglect of righteous deeds, wickedness, lying, pride, and haughtiness, cruel deceit and fraud, massive hypocrisy, a want of self-control, and abundant foolishness, a zeal for arrogance, abominable deeds fashioned by whorish desire, lechery in its filthy manifestation, a reviling tongue, blind eyes, deaf ears, stiff neck, and a hard heart, to the end of walking in all the ways of darkness and evil cunning.
The judgment of all who walk in such ways will be multiple afflictions at the hands of all the angels of perdition, everlasting damnation in the wrath of Elohim's furious vengeance, never-ending terror and reproach for all eternity, with a shameful extinction in the fire of Gehenna's outer darkness. For all their errors, generation by generation, they will know doleful sorrow, bitter evil, and dark happenstance, until their utter destruction with neither remnant nor rescue.
This is your host. Thank you for listening. I hope you have enjoyed our variety show, Jackson Snyder Presents. This is a presentation of the Vero Essene Yahad in Vero Beach, Florida. If you would like more information about today's broadcast, email Jackson at HebrewNation.net or visit HebrewNationOnline.com. Until we meet again, may Yahweh keep you safe and close to home.